Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of What the Heck Do I Dance For? My guest today, as you can see, is a very talented and very sweet Nathan Cronheim-Strasser. Nathan was a student and trainee at Ballet 2 years before I became a trainee there. In December of 2021, Nathan had come to Columbus on a break from Cary Conservatory. I just remember Nathan being very sweet, very nice. I hit it off very well with him, and I liked him a lot. A few months later, I had already decided I would be a PTD at Nashville for the 2022-2023 ballet season. And it just so happened that Nathan was also going to be at Nashville because he had been accepted into their second company. And so then I had reached out to Nathan to become roommates. Today, neither Nathan or I are at Nashville Ballet. Nathan is now a student at the National Ballet School of Canada. I hope you guys enjoy this episode and Nathan's journey to getting to the National Ballet School of Canada. Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of What the Heck Do I Dance For? And today I have another special guest, Nathan. How are you doing today?
I am so good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I did not attempt to pronounce your last name because I am scared I'm gonna butcher it.
You're fine. Whenever people try and say it, especially I've always had teachers, whenever they say it, for some reason they take a German accent when they say it. I mean, it is German, but it's funny because they'll always suddenly get an accent when they say my last name. I've always found that really fun. So,
Okay, gotcha. Let's see. How do we know each other? Well, you were at Ballet way longer than I was, and way before I was. And I met you. You came to Columbus from Cary, Christmas break, and that's how we first met each other, I think.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Yeah.
And then our first again.
Yeah.
6 months later, I think. Nashville summer 2022.
Yeah, and we were both almost going to be roommates in Nashville, but
yeah,
look where we are now, both different places, not at Nashville.
Yeah.
I know, right? Okay, Nathan, where are you from?
I am from Columbus, Ohio originally. I grew up here, and I started my serious dance training at Ballet, and I spent a good 6 years or so there, I think.
6 years? Only 6 years?
I think so. I have to do the math. It was 6 years.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. I'd have to do the math in my head, but it's
gotcha.
For that right
now. How did you start dancing?
Weirdly enough, my brother started, and I have a twin brother, Emerson, and at the age that he started dancing, I kind of wanted to do everything that he did. I think we were like 3 or 4 years old, and he started doing it, and so I was like, oh, I do that too. And eventually he kind of found other things that he enjoyed doing, but I was like, I really like this dance stuff. Wasn't sure why exactly, but I really started. Here we are.
Yeah. And can you just list the places you've danced at so far?
Yeah, I started at a very small studio in Columbus, which was called Columbus Youth Ballet, back a long, long time ago. But when I started really seriously training, I went to Ballet, and I went through their academy, and then eventually I was a trainee there. And then when the pandemic hit, I ended up in a crazy random twist of events. I ended up going down to North Carolina, and I studied at Cary Ballet Conservatory in Cary, North Carolina for 2 years. And now I'm finishing my training at the National Ballet School of Canada in Toronto. So it's been a whirlwind, but we're here.
Yeah. Yeah, so what made you decide I'm gonna stop being a trainee in this program that is already connected to a professional dance company and move to more a dance conservatory?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And sometimes I still think about that and I wonder if that was, the right direction for my training. But I had spent so much time at Ballet Met and I had learned so much, but I think I'd also gotten really comfortable. And I, I was worried that I was becoming kind of complacent almost. And so I wanted a new environment where I would, be forced to really continue to push myself and grow and learn new perspectives. And so I made the crazy decision to just move down to North Carolina. Um, and yeah, that I think at the end of the day, I don't regret that decision. I do wonder what might have happened if I'd stayed at Valleynet where I might be, but I've learned so much and I've grown so much. So I'm I'm glad I decided to make that sudden change in my life.
That's good. And what was your time like in Cary?
It was a roller coaster. I'll tell you that much. I competed pretty seriously for the first time. I did Youth American Grand Prix and ABC IBC. And I'd done ABC in the past, but this was a school that was very focused, heavily kind of a big emphasis on competition, and that wasn't something I was used to at all.
Mhm.
And so that was kind of it was a very big difference. And in addition to that, all of the performances that we did, since there wasn't a professional company attached to the school, all of the students would perform all of the roles. So it wasn't like, you would be core number 4 if you were lucky enough to understudy the corps de ballet as a student. It was like, no, you were out here doing the principal roles. Like I was lucky enough to have
Right.
wonderful partners. I danced Cavalier and Snow King and the Nutcracker. I was, oh my God, I was so fortunate to dance Elegy Boy in Balanchine Serenade, and that's something I'll never forget. But I never would have been able to do that at a school that was attached to a company just because I never would have had those opportunities really. I did actually,
Mm.
I broke both my feet in May of 2021, which was a nightmare, never something that you want to do. And that recovery process was really brutal.
Yeah, geez.
I couldn't move. I mean, I could move, but I couldn't like really partake in a lot of physical exercise for 3 months. And that really set me back a lot. And I feel like it's frustrating. I feel like even now still I'm kind of fighting to regain some of the stuff I might have had if I hadn't broken my feet. But we're here, we're doing the best that we can, and I think again, it taught me important kind of lessons about retraining and coming back from injuries, and strengthening the things that may have caused those injuries. So it's all been a huge
Mhm.
learning growth process. So, but I think roller coaster is a good is a good adjective to describe my time there.
Yeah. So as you said, the conservatoire in Cary was very focused on competitions.
Yeah,
Was that something you were looking for, like coming there, or
I think to some degree, yeah. I never really experienced that
yeah?
to that capacity before, and I've done some with Ballet, but I loved that process of preparing something, and just having the chance to go
Mm.
out on stage and show everyone what you'd done, what you'd worked for. And I also just love performing. So any extra opportunity to be out on stage and dancing and sharing myself with an audience. And there were a lot of them because we would do these semifinals for both competitions, and then I was lucky enough to be a finalist in both of those competitions. So I had many opportunities, and also I danced a pas with my good friend Francesca Rayfon, who's also now with me at the National Ballet School of Canada. We competed at YAGP and at the finals, so there were just so many performing opportunities, and I loved that.
Oh, very nice. Okay. Yeah. So you looked at it pretty differently. You all you wanted to do was just perform more, and how much of the competition aspect like mattered to you?
You know, I would love to tell you that I was just in it for the time on stage and I didn't care about the results. I've always been a very competitive
Right.
dancer, and so I always wanted to place well. And I didn't, frankly, I didn't have a ton of success in that regard at competitions. I was lucky enough to be a finalist twice. but I would never really, with the exception of one semifinal that I went to in Kansas City, I was never really, the top kind of three or the top five, and that always kind of hurt a little bit. But it would always kind of be okay, well, what am I going to do next time, or how can I be better? And I think to some degrees, I got a little too obsessed with that at times. I think competition I think it can be
Mm-hmm.
really good and fun and exciting, but it can be kind of unhealthy too if you become so focused on trying to win or place well that you kind of forget about the other important
Mm-hmm.
aspects of you know growing as a dancer, from working on the variation and all of the amazing things that come with spending all of that time preparing for something like this. So no, unfortunately,
Yeah.
I did tend to get kind of lost in the competitive aspect of it at times. I wouldn't change it for the world. I loved competing, and I hope that in the future I can do some more ballet competitions.
Oh, okay. Very nice. So, okay. So in between you being at Cary and now you being in Canada, you had been accepted into Nashville Ballet Second Company.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
that's
I
that's
don't know. I
it's a I was lucky enough to be offered a position at the Nashville Ballet 2, their second company. Nick Mulligan was kind enough to offer me a contract which I actually signed. Um, and I had kind of every intent to take that contract. And I ended up going to the National Ballet School of Canada for the summer. And let me just preface this very quickly. If anyone's watching this, do not do what I did, because this is not a good precedent to set. And I'll explain. But I went to the National Ballet School, and I was taking class, and I was realizing, oh my gosh, I always knew that there were kind of things that I wanted to grow as a dancer. But I always kind of thought to myself, I can do that once I'm in a company. Like, I'm ready. I'm totally ready for this. I can be in a company. And I went to the summer program, and I was taking class every day, and I was realizing, oh my god, like, Nathan, there's so much to learn. Like, you still have so much to do. Like, and I had just never really realized to what kind of extent I still needed to grow. And I think part of it
Hmm.
was I was kind of sheltered in Cary. I had wonderful teachers who pushed me very hard, and I worked hard, but I didn't really. I had missed the summer before. I didn't get to go to a summer program the year before that because both my feet had been broken. And then the year before that, I didn't get to go somewhere else either because of COVID. So I just had been kind of sheltered,
Hmm.
I think, and I hadn't realized how much I still needed to grow and change. And about halfway through that summer program, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not ready for a company. Like, I can't do this yet. Like, there's so much for me to change. And, uh, for somehow the school ended up offering me a position. In their school at National Ballet School of Canada, they said, Nathan, we see a lot of kind of holes in your technique. There's a lot we think you still need to work on, but we see how hard you work and how much you want to grow as a dancer, and we want to offer you a place here because we think that with that kind of hunger to grow, that we could really change you a lot as a dancer. And of course, now I'm faced with this huge decision because I really want to take this opportunity to grow, but I've already signed a contract, and I'm like, what do I do? So I emailed. This kept me up for many nights. I was just like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. This is so stressful. I don't want to piss off Nick, but I want to do what's best for my future. And I ended up
Hmm.
breaking my contract. I emailed Nick. I wrote a very long email, probably the longest email I've ever sent, and I explained very thoroughly why. And I'm so lucky that Nick Mulligan is a very thoughtful, reasonable man, and he sent me a very long email, and he was not happy. But he told me that he understood why, and he told me that he wasn't gonna, charge me for breaking my contract or, penalize me in any way, and that he wished me the best. And so I got very lucky. It could have been much worse than that, and this is not something that I recommend anyone go and do. Please don't get regular contracts. It's not a good idea. But having spent almost a year here now, I know I made the right decision. I every day I'm more and more sure that I never would have gotten to explore this incredible new technique and style of dancing. And it all sounds so almost preachy hearing it come out of my mouth, but it's just really how I feel. I know that I made the right choice, and I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to come here.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy for you. I remember the the day you texted me. You're like, I'm going to Canada. I was so happy for you. Yeah.
I appreciate that, man.
And it worked out for both of us.
Yeah,
It worked out for both of us. We were both going to be roommates.
I
I
remember I
didn't
was
really want to be in Nashville either.
I have to say I loved it. The school over the summer. I I remember I came and I was so happy like with the people, and I loved the teachers, and the studios are so nice. They're huge. That big A with
Mhm.
the seating, it was like almost a theater inside of a studio. It was so cool. I would have been really
Yeah,
happy there. But I remember I was so like anxious, one, because I didn't want to break my promise to Nick, but and two, I didn't want to. I had told you I was going to be your roommate, and at this point, I thought you were going to be in Nashville.
right.
What do I do? I promised this guy I'm going to be his roommate, and I'm like just breaking promises right and left. It's a whole mess. So, but you ended up going to Sacramento. You got a company contract, as you should, King, and so it worked. It worked out.
It did. Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you are at National Ballet School of Canada in Toronto. Um, what has that been like for you since you've joined?
Oh my gosh, it's been crazy. We've done so much. We had the opportunity to perform in the festival Fall for Dance North, which is in Toronto and in New York City, where choreographers and schools, uh, and but not necessarily schools. I think more companies actually come and send works to be presented in this festival. And we were lucky enough to perform Jera Wolf's Arise, this beautiful piece, the largest piece I've ever performed. It was around 30 minutes, and I believe when we did it, it had, I want to say, 146 dancers on stage, which is like crazy.
Oh my
And
gosh,
none of them leave the
that is
stage the
yeah.
entire time. The entire 30 minutes, every single person is on stage. And it was such a cool piece, and I had such a connection to it. I was like, this is why I love ballet. I was like, ah! And it's kind of dorky, but I love performing that piece. And, I'm very excited. We're going to be bringing that back. Actually, we're going to be performing it in AI, Osceola International, which is a festival in Toronto in May, where a lot of schools from around the world will be sending students, and we'll be collaborating to present these kinds of pieces. And Arise is one of them. Arise will be on the bill. So I'm very excited to do that again. We did Nutcracker. We were lucky enough to dance with the main company, with the National Ballet of Canada. 26 shows with one cast. So
Oh
it was
wow,
very
with
intense.
one cast?
Yeah. But it was such a I love the people that I get to dance with every day. It's such a fun group, and they're very inspiring dancers. It really is. Getting to watch them dance every day is just so fabulous. And yeah, and they paid us, which was like so it
Oh
was amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, so, but I mean, it's been a lot of learning new things and seeing things from perspectives that I hadn't really explored before. And it's been stressful. I'm not gonna lie. It's been very difficult. Um, Finding so much to change about your dancing, like realizing like, oh my God, there's like so much, that I could be doing better or differently, can be really demoralizing. And I'd be lying to you if I told you I hadn't been upset very often this year, but I think that um, it's so worth it. It's difficult, but the the process. I'm so excited to see the result, and I've already seen the results. I personally feel like I've improved a lot, and I'm so excited to continue kind of down that path.
That's so good. Um, so how do the levels work, or what level are you in the school?
Yeah, so I'm in the postgraduate program. There's kind of two postgraduate programs There's the company life program, the CLP program, and then there's like the PSP, which is the post-secondary, and they're both postgraduate. So after people have graduated from high school or their ballet school. Um, and I take classes with
Mhm.
the CLPs, and I take some classes with the post-secondary students as well. So I have a pretty packed day.
Um, okay, so what does a schedule for you look like?
Yeah, so in the morning, I'll usually have ballet, maybe 9:45 to 11:15, and then I'll have lunch from uh, maybe like noon to 1, I think. And then we have our second technique class is
Mhm.
from 1:10 to 3 o'clock. And then we'll generally have like an Allegro class from 3:15 to 5. And there are breaks in there for like snack and to use the bathroom and anything that you need to do. And if we're rehearsing for rep at that time, which we're going to start up again pretty soon, we'll have generally 5 to 6:30 rehearsal. So it's a pretty full out day.
Yeah, geez. Um, let's see. Okay. Uh, besides the 100 plus dancer on stage piece that you said you've done, is there any other pieces of rep that you've really enjoyed doing?
This year, we haven't. I haven't performed a lot of rep other than actually that Arise and the Nutcracker.
Oh,
And
okay.
we're going to be learning some more rep for the spring kind of shows as we get into April. But those are kind of the main ones that I've done right now.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, do you like living in Canada? Just the country and the city of Toronto itself?
Yeah, everyone told
Yeah.
me it was going to be like freezing. Everyone told me, Nathan, you have to prepare yourself. The winters are horrible. You're going to be miserable. But I grew up in Ohio, and honestly, I think the winters were worse here. At least this lucky, I got a knock on wood, but we've had a very kind of temperate winter this year, so I'm grateful for that. It's a huge city. Before this, I was living in a suburb of Raleigh, North Carolina. So going from small town North Carolina to like a huge city has definitely been a change, but I love it. It's so nice to be able
Mm.
to take the public transit system everywhere. I just, I'm not used to having a subway. I love taking the subway. I'm living in residence right now, so this is kind of a dorm situation with a very, there are a lot of students who live at the residence, and I'm in D building with all of the postgraduate students. So it's a fun time.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
And you do something that is not very common in ballet schools anymore. You do exams.
Yeah, so we just had our exam, our evaluation. Right, they call it a performance presentation, but in my eyes, it really is an evaluation. We did it, I want to say February 9th, and it was very stressful for me leading up to it. They really
Mm.
emphasized to us that it was more of an opportunity to show how much we've grown as opposed to, a test that we had to pass or something. But still, I wanted to, put myself in a positive light in front of all of the faculty because the whole school, all of the teachers watched. And so I was like, I can't f this up. Like I need to prove that, I'm here for a reason. I deserve to be here. And so it's very stressful. It
Right.
was exhausting. There's something about doing a class full through as a performance as opposed to just taking it as a class that is so exhausting. I was not at all prepared. I was just we finished bar and I thought I was gonna like pass out. I walked to the side of the stage and I was like, "Ugh." I was just expending so much energy, which I'm not used to. Usually I would just kind of, this whole year, my big correction really has been to kind of relax into the movement, to only use the necessary muscles,
Mm.
but not have that extra kind of tension, especially in my hip flexors and in my shoulders. And so I've been working so hard to find that. And then we got out on stage, and I'm like, because I was thinking so hard about, trying to be as perfect and placed and technical and musical as possible that, kind of all the stuff that I was trying to show just went into the trash can. But I think I'm happy with how I did. We got to watch the video back, and I was happy with how I presented myself. So I'm glad I don't have to do it again, though. I don't think I have to
That's
do
good.
it.
Very nice. Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to our more serious questions. In your opinion, what are the most important qualities a dancer needs to progress in their training or career?
I think, if you'd asked me that question like a year ago, I probably would have told you like work ethic or something. I would have said that. And I think the most important thing is like a dancer needs to work hard and push as much as they can, as hard as they can all the time. But now I think I would probably say an openness to explore kind of new ideas. Because I think every teacher
Hmm.
has a different way of teaching. And sometimes the things that they say really click in your head, and sometimes you listen to them and you're like, "What the actual f is this person like saying? Like this doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's stupid." And it's all about, I think, having that kind of you know patience to be like, well, this really doesn't. I don't get this, but like, what if I try thinking about it this way? I've learned so many like new things this year, and I'm not sure what's different. I don't know why. I mean, of course, the National Ballet School is a very good school, and the teachers know what they're talking about. But for some reason, this year, I feel like I've been so much more just kind of receptive to new information, and I wish that that's something I would have had, when I started taking it seriously at age 12. I feel like I could have been so much more productive and successful when I was younger if I had just kind of like really tried to understand every perspective, as opposed to just kind of sticking to what I thought was true because maybe one teacher had said it and I would have thought to myself, oh no, well, they're saying this, but my favorite teacher said that I should think this way, and that's the only way I'm going to think. I think it can be difficult to kind of consider all those perspectives, but I think it's so important. And I wish that's something that I had known sooner.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good answer. An answer that I don't think has been said on this show yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, go you. Um,
So
how do you handle corrections? Yeah. How do you
I
handle corrections and criticism?
that's a good question. I weirdly enough, I've always been a very like insecure dancer. I've always been very worried about how I dance, how I look, and how people perceive me, both my friends and my teachers and anyone who watches me dance. And so I've never really had an issue with corrections. I've always welcomed corrections because I kind of viewed that as the teacher still had faith that I was capable of improving, that I was capable of growing, that, they're still trying at this point. They haven't given up on me yet. So if they're giving me corrections, that's because they think that I'm capable of growth. And that's a good thing. Really, most of the criticism that really affected me came from myself. It would be like me telling myself, oh, you look fatter. Oh my gosh, Nathan, you can't do a double twirl. Oh, you suck. It really wouldn't be outside criticism from like teachers. So
Hmm.
corrections and criticism, I always kind of welcomed as uh, something I wanted, and criticism. The most of the criticism that really hurt me came from myself, which is an entirely different
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Okay. How much do you still enjoy dancing, and how much does it feel like work to you?
That is such a. I wish I could give you a simple answer for that, but I think it really depends on the day. I mean,
I know, right?
I know that deep down, like I can't see myself doing anything else. I am just obsessed, like probably to a problematic degree. I am just like so utterly consumed by ballet. Like I am a complete bunhead, and I can't see myself doing anything else, and I love it. But there are absolutely days where I'm like, there is no place I would rather be. Like I would rather be. Sorry, I would rather be anywhere else than this studio in this ballet class right now. But I think that's usually less of
Yeah.
because of the ballet and more just because how I'm feeling that day, or if I'm really going through it, or if I'm like nothing's working, then there of course everyone has those days where like F this, F you, I'm out of here, you know. But I think speaking from like a very general perspective, like taking all things considered, I love it, and I can't wait to do it every day for the rest of my hopefully long career. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Um, are you scared of not making it as a professional in
Oh my
this
God, Joseph,
industry?
it keeps me up at night. I'm terrified, and it's such an arbitrary industry. I've seen people who, um, I've seen people who I look up to and I think are incredible, get the most fabulous jobs. I've seen them go off and go do amazing things, and I've seen people who I have the utmost respect for and are so inspiring to me and are beautiful, incredible dancers get nothing. And it's so terrifying to me, this idea that like, you know, you have no control over where you're going to end up or who's going to hire you or who's going to want you or like you. And yes, long story short, that
Right.
yes, it was terrifying, so scary. But staying hopeful, fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't think you have anything to worry about. I mean, you already
I
accepted
appreciate
into a
that.
second company.
That is true. I think coming from a place of someone who's like I'm like a decently tall white guy, in ballet. Like this really pretty easy. But I've I don't I have no idea what the future looks like, so I just stay optimistic and hope for the best.
Yeah, that's fair. Has there ever been like one moment or event in your lifetime that still resonates or that you respond with that keeps you going, especially in your dance life?
Yeah, absolutely. This is very cliche, and I think you'll hear it a lot from people, and it's oftentimes something that for me I didn't truly understand until I did it. But dancing Balanchine Serenade, performing it on stage, there is, and it sounds so cliche, and if this is probably something that many dancers have said or heard before, and it might be kind of an eye roll moment for some people, but there is something that is so incredibly emotional and powerful about that fourth movement for me of walking on stage with um, the Dark Angel had her hand over my eyes, and the waltz girl was kind of
Hmm.
lying on the floor in the front of the stage, and just walking on the stage, and that fourth movement, the music, the dancing, the costumes, the lighting. There's just something that's so I get chills just thinking about it. It's something that that performance and like that the fact that like I had the chance to do that and like I'll have the chance to dance in ballets like that again is something that just keeps me going. Like the thought that I'll get to be moved like I was dancing that, and I'll get to move an audience. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I hope they felt good emotions like I did. But that was something that was so powerful for me, and I didn't really understand, I guess, the hype around it until I did it, and then I was like, oh my god, I want to do it again. And just having those kind of really powerful moments of like just dance and emotion and sharing that with an audience, I that's what I want to do with my whole life. Like I want to do that for as long as I can. And those kind of, the days that I have that are bad in the studio where I'm like, oh, this feels terrible. I hate this. Nothing feels good. Holding on to that, like, this is why I'm doing. This is why I train every day, so that I can, every so often go out on that stage and leave everything out there like I did that day, and hopefully do that again in the future.
Yeah.
That's something that I can kind of hold on to.
Oh, that's a really good answer. That gave me chills when you talked about it.
Nailing this podcast thing.
Yeah, you really are. Um, okay. Do you have regrets is a strong word, but any regrets looking back in your dance life or any what
Yeah.
ifs?
I mean, I would consider myself like a very anxious person. And so there are always like Oh, Nathan, well, what if, like, what if you had just gone to Nashville? What if you had just started your professional career already? Like, what if you had just gotten your foot in the door and just stayed there? Or really, the big one is, what if you had just stayed at Ballet Med? Like, what if you hadn't left when the pandemic started?
Hmm.
And there are a lot of things, because I really did receive such incredible training at Ballet Med, and I don't know where I would have been. It's impossible for me to kind of know. Um, and so there's a lot of like, I think about that a lot. Um, you know, if I hadn't made any of the many decisions that I've made, and that still stresses me out sometimes. I'm like, what if I made the wrong decision? But I I can't change that. All I could do is the best that I can moving forward. So I guess sometimes there are what ifs, but I don't think there are any regrets, to answer your question.
That's good. It's very good. Um, okay, well, that's about all the main questions. Nathan has a flight back to Toronto early in the morning, so we have to make this episode short, but we have an extra 10 minutes. So,
Oh my goodness.
let me ask you, are you a turner or a jumper?
That is okay. So I would definitely say a turner, but having been at NBS, and this is very recent, I'm almost turning into more of a jumper. I feel like I feel like this is a very recent development.
Really?
But yeah, I know. I'm just as shocked as you are, but I think my jumps definitely feel stronger than they did. But I think deep down, I'm still a spinner. I love the, you know. Sometimes it's like a nice 4 pirouettes, and sometimes it's I'm falling out of a single. But I still love just that feeling of going around in circles is very fun for me. So I would say turner still. I'll stick to my guns.
Yeah. Very nice. No, I think you have a good balance between the two. I mean, I think I only took class with you. I think I took class with you only twice at Matt, but I never really noticed like the full extent of how well trained you were until we were in Nashville summer. The 2 weeks you were there, like, like it was like one of those men's classes, and you did like this insane double tour. It was just a regular double tour, but your vertical was insane. I was like, holy crap.
That is so sweet of you. Honestly, like I really instituted on my double tours. So like the fact that you said that is like I really appreciate that.
No, yeah, no. You do a good 5, consistent 5 whenever I see you turn, and
I appreciate that, Joe.
you have all the jumps. And you're a lefty, which I love even more.
It's a blessing and a curse. I think we need to form a company that's all lefties. I don't know what we'd call it, but I think we could be really successful because I think there's a lot of lefties out there who share our pain.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we can get Simon involved.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I know so many people.
Yeah.
We would do all of the quarter ballet
Yeah.
work would be to the left. It'd be like beautiful.
Yeah. Do you have like a embarrassing dance story?
I think I can talk about this. I don't think that this was a very sensitive subject for a little bit, but last October, not 2022, but 2021, when I was with Carrie Ballet Conservatory, we were lucky enough to be invited by YGP to dance in a gala in Veracruz, Mexico, for YGP Mexico. It was beautiful, incredible dancers, and we performed an ensemble piece, and it was an incredible experience. And going there and seeing the country and meeting people, it was just fabulous. But we were performing outside, and I think it had rained right before our performance, and they had cleaned the stage because it rained. They cleaned it, and it was very slick, very slick. Like You
Mm.
might be thinking like, oh, I'm used to a slick stage. No, this was like, and basically we didn't know. We had no, we didn't, we were completely oblivious to that. And we first kind of suspected something was wrong when we were waiting backstage, and the officials from the competition came and told the gala performers to take off their point shoes. They said, "Don't do this on point. Like, if you're doing a variation, that's not. You need to do it on flat." And we were all like, "That is so odd. I wonder why they're asking that. That's crazy." And then, right before we went on, one of the people said, "Guys, no matter what happens, just have fun. Don't stress too much. Just enjoy yourselves." And we were all like, "What the heck?" No worries. We get on stage, we start dancing, and we realize there was a moment. I know because we rolled on the floor. This choreography, I love this choreography. It's Krista King Doherty. She's a fabulous choreographer. She does a lot for YHP in these competitions. There's this part where we rolled on the floor, and I got up and I was soaking wet, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like this is not going to end well." We started pretty strong, but as the piece went on, people just started falling, and it just quickly turned into
Oh.
like a nightmare. Like people were just. I have videos. If anyone wants to reach out to me, I have the videos. It very much turned into like a fight for survival. Like halfway through the piece, one girl hit her head so hard on the stage that she had to get tested for a concussion. Um,
Oh my
it was just this
gosh.
whole. It was like looking back on it, absolutely hilarious. But in the moment, we were all like, "This is terrible. We just fell on stage." A bunch, probably at least 7 people ate it. It was, we were all like
Oh my
horrified. We were
gosh.
so upset. And then, we got off stage and we were laughing our butts off. Our teachers were not thrilled. I can say that much, so.
Mm. Okay. Here's my second to last question, and you can keep this under wraps, but would you care to tell the audience what your plans are for this audition season and maybe the next upcoming season? And if you don't feel comfortable telling, that's
Yeah,
totally okay.
it's a secret, Joseph. I'm not sharing that information. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. So this year, this year was very much. I talked to my teachers, and we decided that we really wanted this year to be a year where I just really focus on polishing my technique and cleaning, kind of cleaning everything
Mhm.
about my dancing as much as I could. And then next year would be kind of my big audition where I send my video everywhere and just, throw everything out there and hope for the best. But I'm fully planning on staying at the National Ballet School another year. So I'm very excited
Oh,
about it.
okay. Okay. Very
Yeah.
nice. So you will not have a stressful audition season at all.
Oh God, I'm so grateful because I see my
At least
friends
for
all
now.
going through it. Right. Oh. Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
see my friends post up everywhere. They're so stressed, and some of them have gotten incredible kind of opportunities, and some of them are still waiting. And I'm just I'm stressed, and I'm not even auditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Wow, okay.
but I'll be
Yeah,
back.
I'm so happy for
I'm
you.
happy for that security. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's good, yeah. Okay, final question. If you could give your younger
Yes.
self or any young dancers advice, whether in dance or in life, what would it be?
You know, I I think I would give my younger self, some advice that I would still say to myself now. I think this is completely relevant to myself. So this is to my younger self and to myself now, but just calm the hell down. Like I used to get so stressed about everything. It just I had to be perfect and like I had to be, the best that I could possibly be, and I would get so in my head that it would be so counterproductive. I wouldn't achieve anything because I'd be so freaked out and I'd be crying. And this is still something that I do, and I get so upset, so hard on myself for no good reason. And I just want to be good so badly, but it gets to the point where I just, make myself go stir crazy. So I'm hoping that, you know, to tell 12-year-old me or whatever, and also me now, just going forward, to just relax. This is I feel like I've worked hard, and that's all I can do. And now the rest is in the hands of whatever you believe is bigger than us or nothing or whatever. But just I've done,
Right.
I will
Yeah.
continue to do what I can do, and I can only control what I can control. I mean, if you'd asked me if I would have pictured myself here like 3 years ago, I would have laughed at you. So like, you have no way of knowing where you're gonna end up, what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so I guess just telling myself to focus on what I can focus on, control what I can't control, and just let the rest be.
Ah, very nicely said, Nathan. Thank you so much for that.
You're too kind to me, Joseph. But thank you so much for having
No,
me. I really appreciate it.
yeah, of course. I feel like every interaction I've had with you in Columbus and Nashville on here has been such a positive experience, and you give me so much energy. And you
Yeah,
are
yeah,
a good
it's a
example of
very kind
someone
thing.
who and you're a good example of someone who makes bold, courageous choices and sticks with it. And I think ultimately it will pay off for you wherever you end up after Canada.
Thank you, Joseph. That's very sweet of you.
Yeah, of course. So thank you for being on the show. Thank you everyone for watching.
Yeah. Thank you so much for